Well, it's hard to believe that this day has actually come. There's been many times during this van conversion when I've actually thought about giving it up altogether. There's been many challenges, many things to overcome, many difficulties. It's too short. By about 200 mil. I know exactly what I've done. I don't even have to look at it. But I have overcome them in one way or the other. And I'm able to present to you today the completed van conversion build. I say completed. Something that I've learnt during this process is that people who convert vans probably never actually finish their conversion. There's always small tweaks to do, small bits you want to improve, different ideas you had, and no doubt over the coming years using this vehicle I'm going to do that myself. First of all, if this is the first of these videos that you've watched, you might want to go back and watch them from the beginning so you can see the whole conversion as it happens. But before I get into showing you what I've actually done, I just want to explain a couple of things. And the main thing is why I actually did this conversion. Well, I'm a landscape photographer and YouTube creator, and I wanted a base to work from, a base so that I didn't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and drive every single day. I wanted somewhere where I could camp from, that I could go out and do my YouTube videos on, come back to, have a warm drink and repeat, rinse and do the same the next day. So it gives me the opportunity to do that. It also had to provide a base from which as a family we can go camping. So it enables myself and my wife to sleep in here. We can take a small tent with us for the children to sleep in, and we can travel relatively quickly and move around and enjoy family time together doing our camping. And finally, it also has to work as a family bus. It needs to be a 5 belted seat vehicle, and it's my everyday commuting vehicle. Large vans can be very expensive. The conversions are more expensive. They're more expensive on fuel, and nothing is getting cheaper. So it has to work in a very practical, day-by-day vehicle for me. So let's have a look at the conversion itself, and I'll show you some of the features and what I've built into this van. So let's go right back to the starting point. Once I had my why, I needed to think about a few basic design concepts. So to meet my needs, the van had to be off-grid, quick to convert, 5 belted seats, so it needed to be fairly adaptable. I had to be able to carry water on board, some waste, a toilet so that if I'm out wild camping somewhere on a photo shoot, I've got somewhere to go back to. It needed to provide these things. Photography requires power today, so I needed a way of charging batteries. So I needed to think about actually how I was going to build this van very early on. And that was the first starting point, coming up with a few different design concepts. So to start with, I did manage to get the 5 belted seats. Under normal mode, when it's being used as a car day to day, I've got 5 belted seats in here, 2 in the front, 3 in the back, which works absolutely fine for myself, the wife, 2 children and the dog. In campervan mode, I can take one of the seats out in the back, and that gives me room to get a cooler in, and that allowed me to keep some of my food cold during the day. Some other things I needed to think about, of course, were obviously a bed, kind of essential. If you're going to camp, you need somewhere to sleep, and I'll show you that in a moment. And also my needs for when I'm out taking photographs. I needed somewhere to store food, keep food cold, warm food up. I needed something so that I would be able to have water on board. And one of those essentials when you're getting towards the age of 50, you need somewhere to go to the toilet. So let's move on and have a look at a few of those other ideas. I guess the first thing to look at is the seating. Well, that was easy to do, and that's the other thing that was important about this build. It had to be easy for me to do because I've got very limited skills and very limited tools. I certainly don't have access to a workshop. So everything was done with hand tools, a drill and a jigsaw. I wanted to be able to pull up for a quick park up overnight and have access to running water, sinks, toilets, warm food, so that I could do that when I'm out doing my photography work and videos. So let's have a look how I fitted the toilet in. The toilet actually proved to be the most important part of the build, because it meant that the way I was originally going to design the van changed completely. I couldn't quite get the toilet into my original design, so I had to change everything around it. The toilet is actually sat underneath where I am now, and it simply pulls out from underneath this rear seat and works perfectly well. Well, I say it works perfectly well. I actually haven't had to use it in anger yet, but nevertheless I managed to get the toilet in. There is a full video explaining how I changed the design, what I did and how I constructed all of this. So if you want to check that video out and get more information on it, it's there for you to watch and get more ideas and information for your own builds. So after I fitted the toilet in, it was a matter of designing everything else around it. Well, that's taken care of how we get rid of some of the waste out of the van. But if we're going to need a toilet, we're going to need something to drink first. So the other thing I wanted to do with this van as well is I wanted a little bit of luxury. And for me, when I'm camping, luxury really is a sink. I don't know if you've camped or not yourselves or anything, but I've been camping for many, many years, and I know that in a small space it's quite difficult to actually get a container of water up, unscrew the lid, fill it up into a cup or a kettle without spilling everything everywhere and knocking things over. It can be difficult when it's damp. It can be difficult when it's damp outside and you don't open the doors and you just want to be able to make a simple drink and do it without getting soaking wet and leaving where you are. So something I wanted to put in this van as well was a tap and a sink. The sink is really not there for washing dishes or anything, it's too small. But what it does do, it gives me somewhere to drain things and some way of getting rid of some of wastewater. So with the addition of 2 5-litre water containers, one for waste, one for fresh water, we've got a tap. So we've got the tap sorted out, the sink sorted out, we've got waste containers sorted out of water. We just as well make a cup of coffee since we've set it up. So what have I decided to do for cooking inside the van? There are a number of different options that I could have taken really when it comes to trying to cook inside the van. I opted for this Go system, which is a single burner portable cooking stove. It's ideal, it's easy, it's small to store away. It can be put away on top of the worktop, it can be moved to different parts of the van, so where I've got doors open for cooking to very importantly let any of those fumes out. It's quite adaptable. Also I can use it outside the van, so if I park up somewhere and I've got the ability to cook outside, I can do that, which will keep the van much tidier and cleaner inside. The other thing of course as well, if I had a fixed gas supply inside the van and had to run gas lines, then I would have to have got a gas safe certificate and everything to make the van legal and compliant, and for my own peace of mind as well. So that's cooking taken care of, but we've got to store some things on board, haven't we? If we're going to cook, we need to keep our food fresh. So let's talk about refrigeration. So for the fridge, I've actually got 2 options. I've got this smaller cool box which I'm using at the moment, which is basically just a fan operated small camping cooler. It works reasonably well, it fits into the space, but I've also got a larger compressor fridge which I use for family camps, and that's where I'm going to be using some mains electric as well. If anybody has an idea on what is the lowest wattage running fridge which I could use for this type of van, then please let me know in the comments, because it's something I'm struggling with at the moment, is enough power. And power brings me down to the next subject. The fridge which I've got here at the moment is plugged into the AC system, which runs back to my solar generator. So I decided to use a Jackery 1000 for this. It was really a compromise between physical size of the unit that I want to put in the van, and also power which I need for my needs. But power is really going to be an issue. So low voltage fridges, if anybody's got an alternative to this, an alternative to the compressor fridge that I've got, which is really very old, then please let me know. Right, let's have a look at where the Jackery is. So yes, I went for the Jackery 1000 for my power needs. The reason for it really was partly because I needed it to fit into this space, which is just below the seat where I'm sat now. I also needed to get access to all the sockets and connections on the front of the panel. There were a few other options that I could have gone for, but it would have meant changing the design of the shelf, dropping the shelf much lower, and it would have not really worked too well in the configuration of the van that I've got. So it's a little bit of a compromise between the power unit that I would really have liked and the space that I have in the van. But as you can see, you know, I've got two 240 volt sockets, a couple of USB ports, some fast charging ports, and 12 volt as well. I can charge the unit using the car 12 volt system when the car is running, of course. I don't want to flatten the battery. And I've also got two Solar Saga 100 watt solar panels which I can put out on good weather conditions when I'm in somewhere where I can put the panels out. The main problem I've got at the moment, as I said, is the amount of power that the fridges are drawing. I need to find something which will draw far less than they are at the moment, just to extend the life of the Jackery. Because at the moment I think I'm going to be switching the fridge on and off quite a bit just to keep it cool and conserve power. And of course at the end of the day, when everything's done and the shooting's done, I want to be able to charge batteries as well. I'm charging a couple of my video camera batteries at the moment, and that's really working well and quite easy. That doesn't take any power at all. So the thing that I think a lot of people want to know is, how on earth am I going to sleep in this van? How does the bed work? How can I set it up? Well, actually showing you how I set the bed up is a little bit difficult to film at the same time, but I'll do the best that I can and we'll put it together. Incidentally, when you want to darken the van down, I've just gone for a set of window covers with suction cups that'll work really well. Other than that, at some point I may get some curtains to go on the rear windows just to save a bit of space and make things a little bit easier to set up. So let's get this bed set up for you. Now, I'm not sure entirely how much of that you actually got to see, because it is, like I say, difficult to film inside of a very small van and show you making the bed up at the same time. But basically, the bed is made from out of the backrests folding down into position, a support rail moving across against the cabinet that I've built here, and then obviously using the cushions to make the bed. The bed, as for the cushions themselves and thickness, is actually very comfortable. We've had a family camp already. I've managed to sleep 2 people in here, although it was a bit of a squash. That's mainly down to Ruby, my dog, deciding that she needs to own the bed and nobody else. But it is possible to sleep 2 up, and with a little bit of planning and a little bit of sorting out and moving things around, I'm sure that I can make it much more comfortable for 2 people to sleep in it. As a 1-person camper van, it's absolutely ideal. It's absolutely no problem whatsoever, and there's plenty of space for me and Ruby when we go away on photo trips. It's just going to be a little bit tight as a weekender, but that's what it's designed to be. Just a couple of nights away for 2 people, longer for 1. And when we're camping as a family, we take the tent with us as well, so we've got a lot more space to use. So I've done it. I've finished the van. 5 belted seats, refrigeration, off-grid, running water, power, 2-berth bed. I think I'm there. Sure, there's mistakes, but I've done it with a minimum of tools, with absolutely no experience whatsoever. And as self-builders, we all make mistakes, don't we? And doesn't that just add to the character of what we've actually achieved? All it leaves for me to do now is to actually plan a few trips, to get out there and use the van, to use it for what it's intended, to produce some great photographic content, to go to some new locations and share that with you as well. So, if you're into van building, please watch the other videos. If you're thinking about building a van, watch the other videos. And if you're into photography, then please stick around, have a look at the other videos on the channel, subscribe, give them a like, and I hope I'll see you back here really soon.